So as you've been practicing, you know that you can use data validation to create simple lists, which helps maintain the integrity of inputting data, or even maybe makes your job a little bit easier. We can also use data validation to leave some messages and make sure that people are putting the information that we want them to enter or choose from. So in this assignment, they have it set up. They give you this information here, and what they want you to do is set up some rules so that when people click in this area here, they see a message to enter their name and possibly not to leave this area blank. That when they click here, they maybe have a pull-down list to choose, select their league. So they're going to have a message not to leave this blank, and that they can choose the sport or league. You can probably create your list right from these cells here. And then for extra services, you want to allow people to choose an extra service, again, probably from a list, and you want to make it so that they can only choose an extra service one time. So you don't want to allow them to choose equipment 2 times or private coaching 2 times. So it's just going to be one extra service per league. And then you also want to remind them. Again, you can create a yes/no list to have they paid or have they not paid. If we look over here in the summary of charges, we can see that if I click on this cell equals this cell here, and so on and so forth. And that these charges over here, well, we'll see here football equals the league, and that these charges are based on these cells over here. So in this one, they used a VLOOKUP that said look up the value in F8, which is right here, and then go ahead and look it up in this table over here and put in the appropriate charge. And it would be the same for the extra charges. If we look here, this VLOOKUP includes an if, saying if this here is nothing, if it's blank, right, the double quotation marks means if it's blank, then we'll just put a 0 here. Otherwise, kind of the same principle, look at what's in F11, and this time it'll be down here at this table and return us the charge. So if I went ahead and deleted private coaching, that would go away here, and the charge would go away. So let's see a couple examples of how you might set this up. One way would be, let's see, I'll start with this one here. So in this example, I actually started with the word, I typed the word name in here, but when we click here, we see the message to enter your name. And if I hit the delete key and hit enter again, I get my error message that I put in there that you must enter your name. So here, you want to make sure that you enter your name. When we click on football, we get a message to choose your sport and click to choose a league that you want to join. So again, I can choose a sport. If I try to delete it, I get a message, cannot leave it blank. So you want to make sure that when you create these rules, that you do not allow people to leave these blank. Now for the name, I'm going to take a look at this rule real quick. The only way to uncheck the ignore blank was to make one of these choices. If I left it at any value, this was grayed out so that it wouldn't work. So I ended up choosing custom. I ended up choosing text length. And my minimum was 1 character to 100 characters. I don't think anyone's name is longer than 100 characters, but that allows this tool here to work. For my extra services here, my message is to choose one or to use the delete key if they don't want the extra service. And then to ensure that they can only choose the extra service one time, when we click on this pull down, the only choice is equipment. So they can either only choose these services or use the delete key. But you want to make sure that when you open up your spreadsheet that these are all showing so that people know what the extra services are. And then if they don't want them, they can go ahead and use their delete key. Again, it's all going to reflect on their summary of charges over here. For the yes, no, I just I typed in a list. Let's look at that data validation here where it says source. I just typed in yes, comma, no. I didn't even really have to create a list on another page, and that works fine. I probably should uncheck, ignore blank, so that this needs to be filled in. On my next example, and this one actually too, I created as a template so that every time you open up the file, it will be kind of ready to go with the word name here, select your league. And then this one I changed a little bit. So what I did was I actually reformatted this area. So I had to change some of the cell references because I added this message. Choose yes or no for the extra services. So I listed my extra services over here so that they always stay. And then over here, they can just choose yes or no. And as they choose them, it shows up over here. And I updated this formula over here so that if C7 now says yes, then it says equipment over here. And then I updated this formula over here so that it's actually reading from over here and not this. And that if C7 equals no, then it's 0. Otherwise, it's the same lookup where it will come down here and it's still going to look up F11. So just a little bit different. I liked this one because you can always see the names of the extra services. I did the same for the list over here for the yes-no list. Let's see, for the name, please enter your name, kind of the same thing. Or if I try to delete it, I'll get an error message. Selecting your league. Again, as soon as I select it, it shows up over here. And the nice thing about the template is that my template will always start with select league, but you're not going to see that in the choices. After that, they're going to have to make a choice. And as they do, it will always get updated over here. So if I add all my choices in here, and you can see the amount due here. If we say paid in full, they still owe some money. Okay, the way they have this set up is if this says yes, paid in full, then they just receive a discount at the time. And so it's going to still show you the amount due. I hope these suggestions help you a little bit. Please feel free to try your own style, just keeping in mind that you want people to be able to see these extra services, that they can only choose them one time or no times, that they need to enter their name in the league, that there's messages for those things or error messages if they don't do those things, and that all their choices will transfer over to the summary of charges appropriately.